Ahmed asked another question in relation to Form 888s. He asked, do they expire? Now, no. Form 888s only expire under very specific circumstances, and that is if you're applying for an onshore partner visa and you are subject to Section 48 bar, meaning you've applied for another visa previously, been refused or cancelled, and you're here on a bridging visa, maybe waiting for an appeal. Point is, you're here on a bridging visa or unlawfully, and you had a visa refused or cancelled previously, you're subject to Section 48 bar, which is just a technical way of saying, it's not a good scenario and you can't apply for most visas. But thankfully, partner visas are a type of visa you can still apply for. There's likely going to be complications surrounding Schedule 3, but we won't go into that in this answer. But if you do apply, even though you can apply for an onshore partner visa, let's put aside Schedule 3, there's specific requirements in relation to providing Form 888s that are no older than 6 weeks signed at the time of applying for the partner visa. And I have seen people have their onshore partner visas invalidated because their Form 888s either were too old, their signatures, or weren't properly written. They weren't properly certified. The ID documents weren't certified properly, or there was an issue with the Form 888. In that sense, Form 888s can be invalidated, and in a sense that invalidates the application. So what the government do is they actually refund your fees, and they say, this is an invalid application, try again. You would fix the issue, you would update the Form 888 signatures, or address the problem with the initial lot of Form 888s you gave them, because you must give them 2, and then retry. And then, if it's accepted, it'll be validly submitted, the bridging visa will then be issued, and then that resolves that issue. But aside from that, for most people, thankfully that isn't the process, and in most other cases, Form 888s don't expire. That being said, you do want them to be relatively recent at the time you submit your partner visa application, because ultimately what that person is saying should really reflect your up-to-date relationship story and what they understand about your relationship as of now and currently, at least when you go to apply. So, Form 888s is a bit of a balancing act, because they're probably the one thing you want to start organizing early on in the process, because you're waiting for people. You have to request statements from people, and that can take a bit of time. But at the same time, if you start organizing them too soon, and then for whatever reason you delay your submitting your partner visa for 6 months, 12 months, then by the time you go to submit, they're quite old, really, in general common sense terms, not in legal terms, but just looking at it from a common sense perspective. If the statement is 6-12 months old, it's no longer representative or reflective of what's happening now in your relationship, and just you've given the government something that doesn't really put forward the right type of story. So on the one hand, it doesn't, they don't expire, but on the other hand, you still want to get statements that are up to date. And I can't sit here and say what I would define to be up to date, but anything around the 3-month mark prior to lodgement, I think is fine. Once you start going beyond that, then there's a potential that what they've said is no longer accurate or current. So just use your discretion there. But also keep in mind that when the partner visa is submitted, it could take 6, 12 or more months for your application to be assessed. So by the time they open your application, your Form 888s are actually quite old. And that's fine. The government don't ask for those people to update their Form 888s just because it's now been 12 months longer since you submitted the application. But one thing that I would suggest that you do, and this is advisable to anyone who's submitting a partner visa, is after you submit your application every few months, just keep updating your relationship evidence. It doesn't mean you must keep attaching new Form 888s necessarily, but that wouldn't hurt.